Okay. Okay. All right. Good evening, class. My name is Veronica Chacon, and I will be speaking today over social reconstruction. Social reconstruction, what it is a philosophy that emphasizes the addressing of social questions and a quest to create a better society and worldwide democracy. Social reconstructionism promotes teachers to not tell students what is right or wrong in society, but instead to guide students by exploring social issues, presenting alternative viewpoints, and facilitating student analysis of the issues. The founder of social reconstruction is a gentleman named Theodore Brumeld. He founded social reconstructionism as a response to the horrors of World War II. He believed education had the responsibility to mold human beings into a cohesive and compassionate society, employing schools as agents for social change, advocated that schools be a driving force for social and political change. So I don't know if you guys remember when you guys were like in elementary, middle school, or even high school. Did you ever stop and think about what the world was beyond school, or what was going on, beyond your city where you lived at? Did you ever come to consider, what are your rights as soon as you graduate from high school? What can you do with those rights? I know that throughout high school, you know about voting, and you just realize that you have the power to vote. But did you stop and think about, can somebody tell me if you stopped and thought about, or were you taught what the power of your vote actually meant? Can anybody tell me? I know as of today, even people my age, they feel like they know they can vote, but they're not aware of the power of their vote and what actually can change, to make society better. What the voting can do to change your environment, to change your city, to change your country. So what social reconstructionists do and believe is that students should be aware of their future. Students should be aware that they have the power to do social changing, that students should be guided and made aware that they have a voice and they can use that to make a difference. One of the ways that they've seen you could make social reconstruction in the classroom is by using the conceptual lens. The conceptual lens supports deeper understanding. Teachers create pathway for thinking and invite students to bring their own thinking. Implementing social reconstruction using the conceptual lens. Teacher involves students in discussions about moral dilemmas using guided questions. Students individually select their own objectives and are able to make personal connections. Students are invited to bring their own opinion to the study, enhancing personal meaning. In other words, teachers open up a platform, or their teaching format is to kind of open up the students' way of thinking, but connecting them to things that mean something to them. Give them the opportunity to speak their mind, giving them the opportunity to question things and not necessarily feed them like just feed them information, but give them the opportunity to actually speak about it, things that matter to them. That way it could bring personal meaning to the issue. How is social reconstruction implemented in a class setting? I figured that there's a lot of ways you can implement social reconstruction in a class setting, but one of them that stood out to me was the INTAS Model Core Teaching Standard number 8, which is instruction strategies. This type of strategies, as you know, it promotes problem solving, critical thinking, creative thinking, which is a great way to promote and implement social reconstruction in the classroom. One of Paulo Freire's very famous quote was, just as objective social reality exists not by chance, but as a product of human action, so it is not transformed by chance. If humankind produced social reality, then transforming that reality is an historical task, a task for humanity. Paulo Freire was a big advocate when it came to social reconstruction. Who was Paulo Freire? As we all know, He was an educator from Brazil who was known to be an influential philosopher of education. Freire was an advocate for critical pedagogy, and he wrote many books, including one that he was most recognized for, which is The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And this is a picture of Mr. Paulo. Paulo Freire's beliefs. He believed that education could not be divorced from politics. The act of teaching and learning are considered political acts and of themselves. Teachers and students must be made aware of the politics that surround education. Freire was an advocate for critical pedagogy. Becoming aware of social and political contradictions and then act against oppressive elements. Becoming aware of his or her own context, political context, economic context, gender, social class, sexuality, and race. Becoming aware of our agency and choose to create our own reality. And students would often think as themselves objects instead of subjects and agents with the ability to choose their own destiny. The way that I related to class is, of course, the banking model. You know, he believed the total opposite. It wasn't that the teacher was in control, but that the teacher opened up a platform so a student could create their own destiny, a student could keep their own beliefs, a student could express themselves freely, and not just accepting what the teacher was teaching or depositing, but them creating social awareness, cultural awareness, and promoting that the students feel true to themselves. Freire had a literacy campaign. So this is a way that I felt that he advocated for social reconstruction. He eradicated illiteracy. He culture circles instead of literacy classes to preserve traditions, beliefs, and culture. And he created political awareness because literacy was a requirement for voting in presidential elections. So in his country, what he did was he would teach the people of Brazil how to read and write because it was a requirement for them to vote. And in order for them to have any type of social change, they were needed to write and vote, read and write, I'm sorry. So what he did was he held a literacy campaign that helped his people learn how to read and write. That way they had that power and they could use that power to make social change. So social reconstruction, because all leaders are products of schools and schools should provide a curriculum that enhances this development. Reconstructions aim to educate a generation of problem solvers, identify and correct social problems, and it's also a remedy for society. So I know that you heard of a quote that says, without teachers, we wouldn't have lawyers, doctors, and engineers. I feel like social reconstruction should also say that without teachers, we wouldn't have secretaries of defense, secretaries of commerce, education, even vice president and president, because if you want to see the change, then we have to be the change that you want to see in the world. And that is it. Thank you.